Watch how you walk. Not across a room, across open terrain, the most direct route, the shortest path between where you are and where you want to be. You walk in a straight line. You do this automatically, without considering any alternative. And if you can think of one reason why a straight line would have been dangerous in the ancient world, drop a comment and subscribe right now. Because ancient humans would never have made that mistake. In the prehistoric world, walking in a straight line was a behavioral signature, a pattern of movement that broadcast specific information to everything in the landscape that was capable of reading it. And everything dangerous in the prehistoric landscape was extraordinarily capable of reading movement patterns. This is the story of why ancient humans moved the way they did, and why the direct path, the obvious route, the shortest line between 2 points, was often the most dangerous choice available. The first thing to understand is what a straight line communicates. Straight line movement in nature is rare. Animals in their natural behavioral patterns do not typically move in straight lines for extended distances. They follow terrain, they skirt obstacles, they change direction based on what they encounter. They move in the irregular, responsive patterns of creatures that are reading their environment as they move through it. A straight line, by contrast, communicates something specific. This creature is not reading the environment. This creature has a fixed destination. This creature is moving with a goal that is overriding the normal environmental responsiveness. To a predator reading the landscape, straight line movement was a signal of prey that was focused, committed, and not monitoring its surroundings adequately. The exact conditions under which an ambush was most likely to succeed. This is the first reason ancient humans avoided straight line movement. Not because straight lines were physically dangerous, because straight line movement was a behavioral advertisement. It said, "I know where I am going, and I am going there directly." It said, "I am not currently reading for threats." It said, "I have chosen efficiency over awareness." And in the ancient world, choosing efficiency over awareness was often the last choice a person made. The second reason was predictability. A straight line route from one location to another is a route that can be anticipated. If you move in straight lines, the things that observe your movement learn your patterns. Predators in many environments are known to anticipate prey movement and position themselves ahead of the expected path. A predator that has watched a group move between two locations multiple times learns the route. It learns the timing. It learns where along the route the group passes through the terrain features that would make an ambush most effective. And it waits there. Ancient humans understood this, not through any abstract analysis of predator intelligence, through direct experience of the consequences. The group that moved between the camp and the waterhole the same way every time, at the same time, along the same path, eventually encountered something waiting on that path. The group that varied its routes, its timing, its approach angles, did not present the consistent pattern that allowed anticipation. Unpredictability was not just a preference. It was a survival technology, and varying the line of travel was one of the most effective ways to generate unpredictability. The third reason was environmental reading. A straight line across terrain ignores the terrain. It treats the landscape as a uniform surface to be crossed, rather than a complex information environment to be read. Ancient humans who walked in straight lines were moving through terrain without using it. Ancient humans who moved responsively, who changed direction based on what the terrain offered, were using the terrain, using it for cover, for elevated vantage points, for natural choke points that limited approach from certain directions, for the terrain features that told experienced readers where water was, where animals had recently passed, where the ground was unstable, where the cover was thick enough to conceal something waiting. A straight line missed all of this. A responsive terrain-following movement pattern extracted it all. And in the ancient world, the information extracted from terrain during movement was often the information that determined whether the group arrived at its destination safely. The fourth reason was tracking evasion. Ancient humans left tracks. Everyone who moved through soft ground, through vegetation, through areas where movement left any evidence, left a record of where they had been, how they had moved, and where they were heading. A straight line track is the easiest track in the world to follow. It tells the follower exactly where you came from, exactly where you were going, and provides a clear line to project ahead to where you might be found. A varied terrain following track is more difficult to read. The direction changes make the destination less obvious. The route variations reduce the information available about patterns and timing. The tracking of a varied mover required more skill and took more time than the tracking of a straight line mover. Time and skill requirements were the ancient world's most effective obstacle. Ancient humans who varied their movement patterns were actively generating those obstacles, increasing the cost of being followed, making themselves harder targets for anyone or anything using tracking to find them. The fifth reason was the nature of group movement. When a group of people moves together in a straight line, it creates a single coherent pattern that is easy to observe, easy to track, and easy to predict. When a group moves in the varied responsive patterns of people who are reading their environment, it creates a more complex pattern. Different members responding to different features. The group's movement shown as a living response to the terrain rather than a fixed trajectory across it. This more complex pattern was harder to read, harder to follow, and harder to get ahead of. The straight line group was a single target with a single trajectory. The varied movement group was a more complex phenomenon that required more sophisticated observation and interpretation, and anything that required more of its observers was more safe. Now here is what connects this to the modern world. The straight line preference that modern humans have is a preference born from a different landscape. Roads were built straight because straight was efficient. City grids made straight movement rational. The environments modern humans move through are designed for predictability and efficiency. They have removed most of the features that made straight-line movement dangerous. But the environments are not the only thing that changed. The things that watch movement changed too. In the ancient world, movement was watched by predators with extraordinary pattern, reading capabilities. In the modern world, most movement goes unwatched, and the few things that watch modern movement have very different purposes from the things that watched ancient movement. But the body does not know that. The body that was shaped by the ancient landscape is still running the ancient movement assessment. When you walk through a space and something about the route feels wrong, when you find yourself scanning the terrain rather than taking the direct path, when you instinctively choose the route that uses cover rather than the route that crosses open ground, that is not irrational. That is the ancient navigator, still reading the landscape, still choosing routes that would have kept you alive when the landscape was full of things that read movement patterns, and occasionally producing exactly the right behavior in exactly the wrong context. Drop a comment and tell me, do you ever find yourself choosing a route that felt safer for no obvious reason? And subscribe, because next time we are going somewhere even stranger than this.